buddy, what's that sound? Hey there, buddy, what's that smell?
It's Peteys Peds, Peteys Peds.
Rock and roll! What we're doing today is putting this fuzz circuit, which is built and tested, it's functioning to working silicon fuzz pedal circuit, which is a Fjord Fuzz is the name of the company. Mjolnir. It's MJOLNER is the incorrect spelling, but that's how you can find this layout in the unverified layout sections of the Tag Board Effects forum. So first off, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to do a shorter video just going over my tools. You can get away with doing this with a lot less, but these are the tools that I would use to go through basically just about the entire process. So some of the stuff that we see here is more focused or put into play when I'm actually populating the circuit board, but I wanted to show off my tools, so we're going to go through everything. So where do I start? Well, an interesting place to start would be when this arrives, you want to take a look at this. I'll tend to want to have a clean, fresh, sturdy piece of paper to set this on so it doesn't get so marred up. I want to keep that free of debris. Oftentimes there's shavings, chunks of aluminum falling out of the chassis from drilling it. The package, when you get it, will be a tiny baggie with 4 screws. These are the chassis screws. You certainly don't want to misplace these, and this is a spring with a nut that fastens on top of it. So I can unscrew this nut. I can plop either all 4 chassis screws, or I can roll them up and manually insert them into this chamber and then fasten that. And then I will set this screw somewhere safe for the end of the project. So you can just as soon put them in a coffee cup. What I recommend doing is finding a stash spot in your home where you can ritualistically put those screws. And what my process is as soon as the chassis arrives and I obtain said screws, stash them there. Another good thing to do is if you're going to be making a trip over to the hardware store is go ahead and obtain yourself a set of backup screws and keep those in your stash. So we've got a small jeweler's style Phillips screwdriver. The most important tool, the needle nose. The most important tool, the needle nose. We've got a center punch and a hammer. The most important tool, the needle nose. A really nice snips. These are the Play-Doh Model 170 shears, spring-loaded shears. They're sharp. I always say file, dull the end, because I sat on these and I was bleeding a lot. I use old discarded toothbrushes, and also this is a bristle brush from the hobby store, the dollar store. You can get a 3-pack of these for $1, and I highly recommend that. That's for cleaning the board at the end, because we do use flux, paste flux, OT's brand. I got a big tub of that. And here is this is a little baking tray. It's got a glass container full of the flux. I keep a lighter for stripping wires. I keep my Goot desoldering wick. This is 1.5 millimeter. It's kind of small. Keep my solder in there. It's a rule of 60-40 Kester. This is a container full of small diameter shrink boot tubing. I tend to cut these in half and use smaller pieces so I can reuse, use less of that than more. Small diameter drill bits, like pre-drill bits, Harbor Freight. Here is a neat tool. It's a hand drill with it's a smaller diameter drill bit. It's basically, I would say, just a little bit larger than one of the rows on a Vero or strip board. And I use this to manually cut the traces. That's part of building a barrel. You're going to have trace cuts. And this is the tool that I use, although you can just use a regular drill bit. If you don't have one of these, this is a $1.99 hand drill I got off of eBay. You can also find drill bits that have a quick change. They have a chunk on the end of them that you pop that into your drill. Those have a nice thing to hold on the end. But you know what, really, you don't need any of that. You can just go with a regular drill bit and it'll work just as fine. Like I said, some of the stuff I got here is overkill. But that's part of the process. I like to use a red Sharpie along with a fine point Sharpie and then a black Sharpie. Important for marking up the barrel board when you're putting that together. Always important to clean the flux off. So this is rubbing alcohol in a Ronson bottle, and then we have Q-tips. I also cut paper towels down to a smaller usable pieces, and then have a large one to put underneath it when I'm getting silly with it. To cut the barrel board, I have my knife, which is a carpet cutter blade. It's a heavy duty blade, and this is what I use to score the barrel board when I'm cracking it into a smaller piece. That stuff is supposed to be bad for you. I put down a heavy grade sandpaper and sand it, and then I'll use one of these hobby brushes with the wire bristle and remove that debris directly into a garbage can. Whenever I'm going through that process of cutting a barrel board, I will take a deep breath, inhale, hold my breath. When I'm done, I set the stuff down, I go in the other room, exhale and inhale. And then I wait a minute till all that dust may have settled, go back in there and clean up whatever I have to do, holding my breath. It's just something I do rather than put a mask on, and it is important to note when you're soldering, you should use a mask. So having proper lighting, as you can see, I'm very well lit, but I also have LED lights, high power lithium ion 18650 flashlights are good. For inspecting the board when you fire it up and it doesn't run, I got some mini scissors here. We've got the stepped drill bit set, which I need a replacement. Mine finally got dull. I've had it for about 10 years and it was starting to fight me. So we have a cordless 18-volt drill. Any drill will work. I have a collection of the appropriate deep well sockets that fit, like obviously a 10 millimeter, whatever else sizes fit on all of the, like the toggle switch one. I have some yellow tape on that to denote it. It's wrapped in masking tape. And then what I do is I have a mixed nuts container, and I keep all the appropriate ones in there. So the ones that I need, I can just grab that. Give me my deep wells, and then I've got those 4 that I always use. One of these is always handy, just in case. You never know when you're gonna need some masking tape. This is kind of thick. I like the normal stuff. That's for wrapping around the sides of the barrel board and marking it. What did I leave out? I've got a soldering iron station here. This is the imitation Hakko 900. It usually has a little yellow adjuster here. It says 60 watts. These are more like 30s. But I really like this because it has a you can purchase replacement tips for a 10-pack for around $2 or less. I've got the Weller station here. The Weller iron that it came with is a decent quality. I mean, it's kind of junky, to be honest. I thought the Weller would be a little bit better quality. It turns out it isn't. Then like the $17 version of this is the same thing, I would think. It looks the same. So extra sponges, I get these. They're round. I cut them into more rectangular shape to fit in the thing. I've got heat clips here. Really, the one that I really like is my new heat clip that's used for It's really got a lot of spring tension on it. This is used for winding fly fishing lures. They use this. It's called a Hawking or Hampton, some weird name. That's my new favorite heat clip. And the idea with that is putting it across parts as a heat sink when you're soldering. So oftentimes I'll incorporate that to make sure that I don't cook anything. I tend to like to buy a 1 pound spool of the Kester, which will cost me, it's 60/40, it's not really Kester. It's a TMI, American Solder Wire SN60 PB40, 400 grams. So today I'm going to be boxing one up. I've got to drill out the holes and enlarge to make sure everything fits. So I'm going to be dry fitting stuff and drilling it out next. Through this process I've got a pair of 1/4 inch jacks, the black plastic ones. I've got my stomp switch and a PCB, wiring PCB. This solders onto the stomp switch and just provides you with a sleeve input, tip input, sleeve output, tip output for the jacks, the audio jacks going in and out. Then there's an in and out that go to the circuit board. There's a 9 volt and ground that go to the main power jack, a 9 volt and a ground that go to the pedal, the circuit, and it also has a spot for the LED. So I'm going to have to drill a spot here for that LED. They give you a spot here, but that's probably going to be for the toggle switch. I don't know. Do I put the LED there? I'm going to have some decisions to make here, but it calls for a smaller diameter power jack. These, you can get these little small diameter 2 connector DC 2.1 millimeter power connectors on eBay for $4 for 20, and that comes up to about 20 cents a piece. So it's a pretty good deal. So that is, I guess the only thing I really didn't show you was a hobby knife, like an X-Acto knife is one thing that I left out here. The smaller and the better action, the skinnier and the nice grabby action on the needle nose you can find, the better. So not the super cheap one, although those orange ones that they sell at Harbor Freight that are like $2 or $3, those are just fine. As a matter of fact, if you're getting into this, go to Harbor Freight and pick up a box of their razor blades. You can get this step drill bit set, which you have to have this. These are like $10 for this set of 3, or they might even be cheaper. They'll have a ton of the stuff that you need. I would just watch out for, like, the shrink boot is overpriced. Get your solder and your flux elsewhere. Like Menards is a good place to get the flux. Get plumbing flux. And you can go to Goodwill to get these little tins as holders, and you'll have a spot where you can keep everything. Like, I'm going to have all my PCB tools except for the hammer go in this, and then all my soldering stuff goes in this one. So it's just nice to have all that stuff. Order some replacement tips for your iron and keep that reasonably fresh. Always have your sponges wet and clean your iron often. I like to use these. I forget where I got these. They're like almost like a pencil with a big pin sticking out of it. And this is the tool that I use to apply my flux. I think I got these from Michael's, like a 6-pack of those for. You know what? I think I got mine from Goodwill, but they were from Michael's. So we're going to wrap this one up. I always like to say, try to remember good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Obviously, everyone's different in how they work. I tend to really go overkill. Like, I have a brother who we've worked in the same type of job, like we both worked at the same place, and he went with like caveman tools. Like, he would strip wire with his teeth and go for super lightweight. He was ordering French military rubber pants, and where I was, just wearing jeans. And he always got on my case and mocked me for having an excess of tools and equipment, but he was constantly coming to me for aid. So, yeah, as you can see, I'm easy target. You could mock me and laugh at me all you want. All I have to show for myself is my art and my music and all of this stuff. I'm not just hoarding it and going, oh, tube and analog, oh, my Les Paul, my tube amp. I put out an album every year. And then in the summer, I'm constantly filming myself performing the guitar, even though I'm handicapped, missing finger tops on my front hand, and I've got herniated discs, so I suffer a lot of chronic pain. I'm getting out there and doing my best to make music, push some air, recording at home, doing digital stuff, and always trying to learn, always trying to keep an open mind, always growing with new material. So that's the only thing I have to offer. My whole thing with all this technology is my art speaks for itself. I'm not so much hung up on my tube amp or my guitar being the best thing in the world. I use tools. The main thing for me is that they work well and they don't interfere. Meaning, like, I got to have kind of a lightweight guitar, but also keeping things financially at bay. Where, like, I use a lot of rechargeable batteries, so I'm not harming the environment or having to pay. So where my approach may be different than a lot of other people, I kind of have that other thing where I don't have to go on and on about how my gear is the best. I'm okay with whatever I have because I'm making art with it consistently, and that I don't have to worry because my work speaks for itself. So that's why sometimes I get into trouble letting other people kind of get to me a little bit. But in the long run, as I said, I don't see people who are attacking other people and saying that may be fine for some kid in his bedroom with his Line 6 modeler. I never see those guys ever have anything to show for themselves. They never have a single video, a demo, a song. Maybe they're in a band, but it'll be horrible. Absolutely horrible. Anyway, you guys, thanks for joining me. I'm going to have more of this pedal stuff coming up. We're going to go ahead and box this circuit up. So I'm going to try to edit that together. Hopefully it won't be too long, but it probably will. Anyway, I always like to say good thoughts, good words, good deeds, so I'm saying it again, and peace.